I just want people to come and have a good time. Man. That's what life's all about. Hey, I'd rather talk about why I'm getting out of this country. I mean, fuck.
Well, is there any reason that you're getting out of the country?
Damn straight, because the head of the CIA is running the fucking country, and I don't need the damn CIA running the country. I'm disgusted.
Well, has anybody bothered you because the head of the CIA is running the country?
Oh, damn straight.
Well, who's bothering you because the head of the CIA is running the country?
Hey.
Is we out of tape or what?
No, I just have to stop from it. It all bothers me. It all bothers me. I don't understand I don't understand how George Bush cannot be indicted for running drugs. I don't understand how Oliver North can't be indicted for running drugs. I don't understand how Ronald Reagan can't be indicted for selling arms to the Ayatollah.
Because we got a bunch of crooks running the country that have wrapped themselves around the infrastructure, the Justice Department, and everything.
No, you can explain it to me, and it's been explained to me 100 times, and what I say is, well, this may be true the whole world over, but I'd like them to be a little bit more upfront about it myself, and I'd like the population to not believe it so much. Ronald Reagan has now laced his court with right wingers, and George Bush is going to get 2 more of them, and we're going to have more right wingers. So I believe that right now the entire society has come to a point where the right wing, in fact, is totally in control. All labor movements are gone, and what labor movement there is part of that establishment that's running the country, not the establishment that's having to live under this rule of the CIA, which we know is inherently paranoid. And the government acts paranoid. I mean, the Germans are hopping up and down saying, hey, man, we're going to have a party. And they're sitting there going, well, but we don't really want you to be unified, and we don't see how you can do that without taking 20 years to do it. Instead of saying, well, fucking A, man, let's go get some peace. Why don't we? They're not saying that. They're being paranoid. They're jumping up and down going, fuck this, man. We need 3 more weapons to take care of this one. And the obvious shit, you're not even housing your population, and you're putting more into weapons than you're putting into that. That's going the other way. In some other places in this world, it's going the other way.
I think it is, makes sense. The obvious thing to do is to try to change it as opposed to walking away from it. Because, if the liberals here and the people who think as we do here are just fatted calves being led, to slaughter, somebody has to, amongst that group of people, being led, into the nuts,
you have to understand
has to rebel.
You
can't
to
just,
understand.
go and say the third world grass is greener on the other side. I'm going off.
That's not really
true. Doesn't
true.
make any sense.
That's not really true. It's essentially what's happening now. This particular country is doing this, and it's going from its leftward leanings, which it's always had, the concept of individual freedom, which has always been big in this country, which is being lost now in the paranoia. Individuals are going to be squozing into this little thing now. They're going to do that. That's their attempt. In fact, while that's been being done in this other part of the country, I mean, the Spanish were under fascists for 40 years, and they were free for 15 years, and this part of the country, these areas of the country, see, the United States has had its day. All the time when we were at our greatest as a country, the United States was that time when that individual freedom was revered and everybody was bopping along doing the best they could to be better than they were yesterday. Okay? That's come to an end. Because other countries have taken that and moved it 2 steps farther. See? Now the United States is in for a period of retrenchment. And you can't, you can't look at it for this little short period of time. See? You can't. Now, from 1969 when depressants. First, we came out with reefer and having a good time and smoking pot and doing LSD, The government introduced speed. We went into a depression in the late 60s, if you remember, which led to a lot of this. The end of the Vietnam War was a depression period. We weren't going full throttle. The military was being cut back. Everything was going down. People were out of work. Everybody was going in to be a student because they were out of work. So the late 60s is when the state college systems of this country really exploded. They didn't explode in the 50s. They exploded in the 60s when all of us fuck-ups came in and they didn't have any jobs for us. So they gave us universities to go to. Well, you put us in a university and say, think, sucker. We learned how to think. When we started thinking, we said, well, you guys are screwing everybody. And we don't want to go fight in your damn war, so fuck you. Now, because of the depression, they came out with the stimulants, methadone, this stuff they're calling ice now that you smoke. Methadone came out in the mid-60s. Tons of it. I mean, just woof! Lots of it. And then we got our Summer of Love in, and the next year were major demonstrations. 68 and 69 were major political demonstrations. It's by the summer of 1969, a year after, in the second half of the year, that Richard Nixon was our president. Yay, Richard. Reds hit the streets, and the Reds that came out, which Reds are some kind of depressant, and there were Yellow Jackets, Nembutals, and Succinals, and Tuinols, and those things really hit the street in 1969, and they came directly out of the military base.
Better red than dead.
Better red than dead. I sat in San Francisco in the summer of '69, and I watched soldiers walking down the streets selling handfuls of Reds to hippies. And the hippies bought them, of course, because it made them feel good, and it was good fuck material for the first couple of days you did it. But then after that, it just killed you out. 1969 killed that whole movement. And if we hadn't started being killed, if they hadn't started shooting the Black Panthers and...
Things haven't changed all that much. People respond, and people...
Well,
students and young people respond when they're up against a wall. They react.
After the Reds, the middle class took over, and the middle class ran the demonstrations then, and they really couldn't do anything about those people because the soldiers were coming back over, and they had pensions, and those they couldn't drug off or kill. John Kerry is a prime example. I mean, John Kerry went to Vietnam. Do you believe for a minute that John Kerry didn't smoke reefer in Vietnam?
We're talking about basic disillusionment with his country.
No disillusionment. There is no disillusionment. No.
You're seeing a decline here. You're talking
not
about a decline. You're saying that there's a shifting here.
Not really. Not really. There is a shifting, but it's not a decline in that manner. It's cyclical. And what's happening now is that the government is now going to retrench. We've got 8 years of George Bush to go through. Okay?
Granted.
We're not going to get 4 years and out unless he gets indicted. We got 8 years of George Bush to go through.
And he may indeed be impeached. We don't know.
Well, and can't bet on that because
the media stinks so much.
If George Bush is impeached, we get Dan Quayle, and nobody wants Dan Quayle, so George Bush is going to be left alone. The only thing that could topple George Bush is if Noriega comes out and starts printing some of his material to prove what it was that George Bush had to do while he was head of the CIA. With running drugs.
Maybe they can come up with a law that
or while he was vice president.
Maybe they'll come up with a law that a presidential candidate cannot handpick who's going to be the vice president, but that thing...
that doesn't make any difference anyway. That's immaterial. That's
not for every good reason.
Not for this next 4 years. This is over and done with. We got 8 years now of George Bush, and while it will get a little bit more repressive, I believe that they've blown their wad. They didn't move quickly enough. They should have, in fact, brought the troops into the streets when they said they were going to do it. And that's our drug war. Now, of course, with this shit here, with this hair stuff, and looking like I do, and, any cop in his right mind knows that any time he wants to, he can arrest me and get away with it. Okay? Just knows it. Cambridge, they don't do things like that unless I start doing something they don't like, and then they may do it. But I doubt it, because I don't make that much noise. I make noise, but I do it in a, I don't editorialize. I just put things out.